Welcome into the Graham Lick and Mac Lane podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Graham Lick and Mac Lane. Week 8 was a doozy, Mac. Last I checked, everyone in the ACC is still employed as of now, who was employed before the weekend started. But, we're recording this 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, so things could change. We actually waited, Mac. We waited most of this day because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Just in case. Wild times, wild weekend in college football. I mean, everywhere you look, like ranked teams flying, off the rails and losing and not playing to their ability and just total chaos. I mean, everywhere you look, and a majority of those ranked on rank, but a bunch that aren't. Some teams that maybe we're looking ahead to the next week. Some teams that maybe just aren't that good. Who knows? It's really wild times. But here we are. We have made it, and we got to talk about this. And literally, the craziness started Friday night when Louisville just decides to play out of their minds, and we'll talk about all that. But first, KG, the people have been whispering about the hot dog bar, and they want to know how it went. They want to know.
Of course they do. Well, a lot of people were in the comments on our episode on Friday saying they love hot dogs because
I was pretty disgusted rolling through the comments. I'll just say that.
Because they are red-blooded Americans and they love hot dogs, Mac. The tailgate went great. We won the tailgate. For most of us wearing orange, we didn't win the game. And we're going to talk Clemson, SMU. But we won the tailgate, baby. We had an excellent hot dog bar. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The kids loved it. Every child spilled something at some point, which happens. Ketchup on pants, whatever. But the hot dogs were a big hit, of course. And shout out to Ingles for helping us out there. And the guac. My child loves a chip and dip. I mean, shocker. And he loves guac. So we were getting in that Ingles guac. And we had to load up. We had to get ready for a long afternoon in Memorial Stadium. I'll just put it that way, Mac.
And our friend Bill came by. You got to see Bill Armstrong.
Bill Armstrong, legendary SMU, everything. Bill Armstrong. I'll just put him that way. Bill was he found us. He came out. We kind of met like right where we were tailgating, and then we walked through campus and we showed him some of the sights. That was good. But Bill's just awesome.
I was actually surprised to hear that he didn't helicopter in, grab a hot dog, and then leave.
Yeah.
That's just how cool he is. I'm surprised he was walking around.
He had some good accommodations to get himself to Clemson. We'll put it that way. And, that game was something, Mac. But congratulations
We want to be good hosts. We want to be good hosts to Bill.
Yeah. Southern hospitality. Congratulations to Bill Armstrong and the SMU Mustangs. We'll get to that game as well. But Mac, like you said, we got to start with Louisville, Miami, that crazy game. So let's get to a message from Ingles, and then we'll dive into these games.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department, or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Okay, Mac, Friday night, it all went down in Miami. Louisville beats Miami 24-21. Now, we talked about this game all last week. We both thought Miami would win. I did take Louisville to cover because I love an underdog on the road on a Friday night. And I did pose the question, before we get into what actually happened in this game, that I thought it would actually be okay for the league if Louisville wins this game.
You sure did say that.
And it's all my fault. I stand by it, though, Mac. You now have 4 ACC teams ranked in the top 20. Georgia Tech at 7. Miami only drops to 9. Virginia at 16. Louisville now at 19. And if Louisville, the Louisville and Virginia game was crazy a couple weeks ago. So I think Miami's fine. They don't necessarily control their destiny to get to the ACC championship game, but I think a one-loss Miami, if they win out with their non-conference wins, Notre Dame continues to win, they should be fine. So I think we'll just start this conversation by saying Miami fans don't, it's not the end of the world. Now, we do have some questions because this has kind of been your thing recently, right? Where you start off strong, you have really good September, kind of halfway through October, and then things start to fall apart. Where are you on the panic meter, Mac, with Miami?
Um, I'll tell you, not much.
Okay.
So, Aaron Murray and I do our little top 15 teams, and we only moved them to 3. They went from 1 to 3.
Wow.
So we think it was a really good team in Louisville. Like we think Louisville's good. Their only loss is to Virginia, where they
In
pretty much
overtime.
handled Virginia offensively. Like
Yeah.
their defense did a great job. There was just some fluky, weird things that happened there. So the Cards could easily be undefeated, right now and have 2 really massive wins. And then the second part of that is like Carson Beck just had his worst night. Like, and that stinks that you have that in front of everybody and you have it in that form or fashion. But I will say it was extremely concerning that Miami only rushed the ball for 63 yards.
Correct.
And that Louisville, who hadn't been able to establish the run on anybody, Isaac Brown rushes for 113 yards himself. Those 2 things I would never, ever, never have thought would have happened. Just simply because what we've seen from Miami all year, who they've been. And, the 4 picks and crazy turnovers, sure. Like it is what it is. I would have thought Miller Moss would have to throw for 350 plus to beat Miami. And that just wasn't the case. I think that I'm not sounding any alarms, but I am kind of like, how'd that happen? Why did that happen? It's so weird and bizarre. And quite frankly, Louisville dominated them, in every facet on, the lines of scrimmage there. Talking with Keem Mesidor and what we thought of the game, I thought they were going to get after their tail. And, on the defensive line, they really didn't. And that's a huge game plan by Louisville. So I know we're going to jump all over that game, but I don't think I'm as concerned as maybe some are. But certainly you have no margin of error anymore. Like it's all you have to win out. You have to win out for sure. And like you said, that you do not control your destiny to Charlotte.
Yeah, which is crazy because there's so many teams in the league and you just don't know who you play so many different teams. But okay, Mac, overall, like you said, I think Miami had its worst day. I mean, Carson Beck is not going to have another game like that where he throws 4 picks. I don't think
he's never in his whole career. He's never had that before. It's the first time it's ever happened.
He's never done that. There were a lot of it seems like miscommunications or just so many different things. And then in the end, Miami had every chance to go tie it up or win it. And then you have that pick at the end where apparently there was a miscommunication. Apparently the wrong route was run according to Carson Beck. So those are fixable things. I agree with what you're saying. The fact that Miami could not run the football is really concerning. 24 carries for 63 yards. Now, we mentioned this 2 weeks prior when Louisville played Virginia. Louisville was great against Virginia. Like Virginia's offense looked terrible and Louisville's really good. So maybe we need to be giving this Louisville defense more credit. But I do think, and hopefully we can do this because we cover the ACC, we got to give Louisville credit here. Like, yes, Miami played terribly and they had issues, but Louisville was responsible for that. When Louisville comes out in the first drive, what they're doing, putting 3 quarterbacks on the field, like getting the ball out so quick, the game plan was so good because this D-line's full of monsters. They didn't really give the D-line a chance to do anything. They got the ball out quickly. Miller Moss made good decisions. And then welcome back Isaac Brown. We've been waiting for this, Mac. We've been waiting for it. He emerges in the 4th quarter against Virginia. And then finally, he looks like the guy he was last year where he had 1,000 yards. I mean, Isaac Brown was fantastic. So I think we got to give Louisville a lot of credit.
No, we 100% do. And you're right. That's the reason Miami looked bad was because Louisville made them look bad. Louisville put them in adverse situations, bad spots, and ultimately, like I said, dominated them and just made them look, not capable, which is shocking to say the least, just because of what, we've seen from them and how we saw them look against many, many teams, a couple of ranked teams, 3 ranked teams. And so, I think at the end of the day, the attack that you just mentioned was very impressive. The game plan, very impressive. And there's a couple of key points, just the quick passes, like the crossing routes and quick passes were tremendous. When Miami's going man to man, we're finding Chris Bell. We're sending him on over routes. We're getting him in front of the quarterback, getting him the ball, let him get out in space. He was tremendous. It was really fun to see that young man, take advantage. And it felt like, KG, everybody in the stadium knew the ball's going to 0, and Miami couldn't stop it. I mean, he was so electric, and it wasn't even like it was just long bombs. I mean, he was just getting the ball and had, I think, 92 yards of yards after the catch. And so really impressive to see just how he did that, what he was able to do. Miller Moss getting him the ball, Miller Moss adjusting the offense. Like, there was one play in particular, and it's comic for us because we have hindsight, and I literally phrased the question to the young man when we spoke to him earlier in the week. And I said, when 3 and 4 are on the same side, what does that mean for the offense? And he didn't really go into anything. I went into it more saying that's a problem. That's an issue. Well, Louisville said, 3 and 4 are on this side. We're going to run it this way. We're going to go away from them. And that was a check. That was all Miller. Like, it was built in. He had that ability. It was like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10. They line up the monsters to the left. He says, hey, ready, we're going to the right. Hands it off to Isaac Brown, gets an 18-yard gain. I mean, it was sick to see that, like, really smart, cerebral play. And you saw that a bunch. There was a bunch of different things like that. Miami check, we check, you check. It was a chess match back and forth. And it was fun to watch that. And Coach Brahms just, I mean, he is the definition of consistency. I mean, this dude just wins. He executes. He puts out. It doesn't matter who's on the team, how many years the quarterback's been there, hadn't. He just finds a way. And he has a level of expectation, too, that I love. Like, he puts a lot on his quarterbacks. And I've never been in a meeting, and I would love to one day just to hear it, because I'm sure it's very high level, very, detail oriented. But there was something that happened where it just was a bad play, a poorly executed play. Let me rephrase that. And Miller's coming over the sideline, and Brahms like going crazy. And he's saying, what the F are you doing? Like, blah, blah, all these things. And I'm like, that is so intense, because he knows, like, every little detail matters. If you want to beat the number 2 team in the country, everything matters. And then to see Miller respond, not just go pout and sit on the end of the bench, like respond, go in and score a touchdown. I mean, it's really big level stuff. I think looking at the defense, and I'll get out of the way here, we knew that they had the stats, like numbers wise, they'd done well. I mean, they were the number 1 defense in the ACC coming into this. We just thought it was juiced up because of who they played. Bad news. It ain't juiced up. They're like that. And they looked really, really good, very physical on the line of scrimmage, but also in the second and third level. I was impressed. I mean, I couldn't be more impressed with what I saw from Louisville, how they won that game. And I am so pumped up, KG, that the huddle is headed there. First time ever, 7 years, we're coming. I cannot wait to see the cards. It's going to be so much fun.
First time in, like, the history of the network?
Ever.
Wow.
Forever. It's my last weight room I get to go to. It's like the last Infinity Stone, and I've got them all.
Last Infinity Stone. That's amazing. It's funny to see that you say that, because for me on the women's basketball side, I live in Louisville during basketball season. It's a great city, great town. And I'm, like you said, excited for you guys to go there, and the fan base, I'm sure, is going to be juiced up. But Mac, I mean, you hit it all on the head. I agree. The other thing that I mentioned briefly at the end of our preview episode, I was a little worried about the crowd. I just thought, okay, Friday, 7:00, you're in a major metropolis. Like, are people going to be able to get there? The crowd didn't feel as juiced, at least from TV, for what we saw. And when Louisville goes and scores on, they get up 14-0, you're like, oh. And then Miami's on their heels. They don't really have that crowd behind them, it felt like at times. And I almost felt like, too, Mac, okay, they were both coming off bye weeks. The bye week helped Louisville because you had to get healthy, number one, and you're coming off a heartbreaking loss. You can go back, reassess. And obviously Jeff Brom used all 2 of those, the whole week plus the next week to really put things in for this game. It's almost like Miami had all the momentum in the world, and then the bye week hit, and they almost relaxed a little bit. And Miami just looked a little bit too relaxed, Mac, and Louisville had such urgency. Jeff Brom, whatever he makes, I don't know what his salary is. You know how coaches' salaries have been a hot button topic for me lately, Mac? he earned it. Like, he had every wrinkle in there, the three quarterbacks, the different things they were running. He didn't say, okay, we're just going to do our normal stuff and hope to win. He had so many different things ready. He's just a wizard. Like, you look at Jeff Brom and what he's able to do against top teams. If you give him that extra week to prepare, we probably should have put more stock in that.
Right.
For Jeff Brom having an extra week to get his team ready.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, I think the other interesting piece of that, having that much time, what we heard from Miller and from, Coach Brom, I believe after the game, was that they really challenged their offensive line like these 2 weeks, because I had said it and have said it for a couple of weeks now. They are not playing to the standard that the Louisville fans, Louisville coaches, Louisville whatever, past players expect from that unit. Like that's typically a unit of strength. And they just hadn't been up until to this point where they were. And for them to go against that Miami front, to run the ball the way they did, to protect the way that they did, you got to give them credit because they played very, very well. And like you said, Coach Brom to dial it up the way he did. And for those guys just not to flinch. And see, that's the interesting thing too. Not that Louisville is some massive dog. I mean, it's just, they're a great team. Has been consistent as anybody since Brom has been in the league. I mean, you saw that graphic time and time again on the game broadcast. One of the few, stats and graphics that were correct. There was a lot of errors there. I will say that. Coach Brom has the most wins of any coach in the ACC wins since he's been there. More than Mario Cristobal. Right? What's that?
I think since 2023. So since
he got there. More than Dabo Swinney, more than Mario Cristobal, more than anybody. And so that's just what they do. They win games. But the interesting piece is, what's next, Louisville? Like, can you take that step? Can you not lose in overtime to Virginia? Can you knock down the door? Is that getting to Charlotte and winning in Charlotte? So we'll see. Like I said, I'm excited to be there. I can't wait to see it in person. Can't wait to see that facility, all these different things.
Well, and we've seen Louisville also struggle down the stretch, even under Brom. Last year, the Stanford loss. Year before, when they lose late and they stumble. That's a big challenge for Louisville. I'm not too worried for them this coming week against Boston College, where they're already a 23.5-point favorite. They should be favored in every remaining game, Mac. Like, I think, unless SMU continues to win, maybe at SMU, maybe they're not favored. Clemson at home, Cal at home, Virginia Tech, and then, of course, Kentucky, even though Texas made Kentucky look pretty good. All right, so we give our congrats to Louisville. I also think Miami's going to be fine. They obviously need to figure some things out. And I low-key think it's good for the league, Mac. Also good for the league, Georgia Tech winning. Number 12, Georgia Tech beats Duke 27-18 in Durham. Mac, the first half was manifesting my concerns for Georgia Tech. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, are we doing this again? Like, truly. Like, we're not even showing up for a first half on the road. It was bad. Mac, Georgia Tech was outgained 238-110 in the first half. But then Duke just could not get out of their own way. You had the crazy fumble. You had the botched field goal attempt. You had so many different issues. Duke had 159 yards in their first two possessions and didn't score. I mean, crazy game.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of been the story of their season. Like, they just cannot get out of their own way. And it's frustrating for Duke, because you have a really good team and you have an impressive team and great players. But at the end of the day, it's already hard to beat the opponent. It's really hard to beat yourself as well. And just freaky plays, like you said, and for Georgia Tech to capitalize the way that they did, I think the biggest thing that I saw or thing that I learned or what I appreciated the most is that you had this really nice fight where everyone seemed to have a good plan, feeling each other out, going back and forth. And then Duke just couldn't keep up with the intensity that Georgia Tech was playing with. It was just body shot after body shot after body shot. And then your hands fall a little bit and then boom, here it comes, the big knockout kind of blow. And they just couldn't, they couldn't hang anymore. And so that to me is the really interesting piece for Georgia Tech. And just what does that look like? Because they jumped from 12 to 7. They're 7 right now in the AP poll. There's some respect. And I think they honestly should maybe be a little bit higher, especially some of the teams that are in front of them that do have a loss. And I keep referencing Aaron and I's conversation. He says, if you like Vanderbilt, you like Georgia Tech. They play the same way. They have the similar quarterback that needs to ball out, do everything for them, and that they go as he goes. And I think that's pretty, accurate when you see Haynes King and what he means to this team. And, the fact that he had 14 rushes for 120 yards is just, it's nuts. He's a special player. But I think the MVP of this game, KG, was the defensive line. Like they balled out. They held Duke to 68 yards rushing. A team in Duke that had really figured it out, right? Like they were running the ball at a super high clip. Nate Shepard had been amazing. And Georgia Tech, who was the worst run defense going into this game in the ACC, said, not today. Not today. You're not going to be able to do that today. And I thought that was very impressive. And really my biggest takeaway was this team is getting better and they're finding a way to win.
I really like what you're saying about wearing teams down, because that's what Georgia Tech does. They are the toughest team. When you have two teams out there every week, whoever Georgia Tech's playing, they end up being the tougher team. Brent Key said after the game, I think by the fourth quarter, our guys had worn them down. Like, that's basically what Georgia Tech does. They're just going to wear you down. They did it to Colorado. They did it to Clemson. They did it to so many other teams, and now they've done it to Duke. And that's just kind of their MO, like you've said. This is also, crazy stat here, Mac. The last time Georgia Tech started 7-0, do you have the year?
1966.
Woo, that's a minute ago.
Do you know who the coach was? Here's a tricky one.
Oh, Heisman? No.
Stadium's named after him.
Older. Bobby Dodd. There you go. That makes sense. Heisman.
So I said that. So did you see Coach
Heisman a Georgia Tech coach? Like in the 20s?
I think he was.
Like the 20s?
Yeah, I think he was, because that's like the weird Clemson Georgia Tech connection. Did you see the interview that Coach Key and I did sitting on the ground?
Yes.
You did. Okay. So that was how I think I started it that way. And I told him that nugget, and he was like, wow, that kind of puts it into perspective, doesn't it? I said, yeah, so maybe you'll get the field named after you. Who knows? We'll see what happens there.
That's what I was going to ask. What are they going to name Brent? What are they going to name after Brent Key?
They might be building a bunch of statues. We'll see. Yeah. We'll keep winning games down there, though. We'll find out.
That's just what they do. They outlast you. And Haynes King, 325 yards of total offense. Like you said, Duke could not run the ball. Duke, and you said it, but they can't get out of their own way. If Duke could just get out of their own way, like the Illinois game is the perfect example of that. Now this game, they moved the ball. Mensah was still really good. The fumble was obviously a problem. Cooper Barkate is a problem. Chandler Rivers told us that when we had him on the podcast way back at the beginning of the year. He had 13 catches for 172 yards. But it just didn't matter. Georgia Tech finds a way, and they're up to number 7 in the country. Crazy.
Fun to watch. And I think it's just one of those things where there's times where you're like, is Georgia Tech good?
Yes,
like, are they good?
It's weird.
And then you're like, yeah, they look really good. And then you're like, but are they? You don't know. But I think it's something about they're so tough. They're so gritty. They really don't make mistakes. And when they do, like when you see the ball on the ground, you're like, whoa, what the heck happened? And of course we saw it was a little bit of an issue early, but it just felt weird. And so you look at the remaining schedule. Syracuse this week, who is awful, terrible. Don't understand what happened in Death Valley, but it did. At NC State, who, again, not very good right now, in a weird spot. At BC, who is one of the 3 worst teams in the entire league. And a Pittsburgh team that's showing some juice. That should be a respectable game. And then versus freaking Georgia. That is going to be nuts. Huge, huge game. Because guess what? Georgia's defense is not good. They cannot stop the run. They cannot rush the passer. Their DBs are suspect. They do have a good offense. And it'll be interesting to see. And they can run that ball. But it should just be like last year. Back and forth. Who wants it more? I'm fascinated to see. Is Georgia Tech going to be a top freaking 3 team in the country at the end of the year? That is nuts.
This is going to be, the biggest Georgia game in a.
Could be. They got to stay focused. Again, my biggest question, lock the heck in. Don't look at the number. Don't look at the record. Like, you have to understand how special it is what you're doing and how rare, especially It is. And I think Coach Key can dial that in. I think this staff can just keep your head underwater. Just stay right here. Don't look up. Look up in February, not even January. Look up in February and look around and see what you did.
It's hard though, Mac, when none of these players have done it before, right? Have been in
literally have never done it.
Yeah.
Literally.
And didn't I see the Brent Key quote where he was quoting Nick Saban where he said, more people die coming down Everest than going up? So that's right. You got to stay locked in. And the biggest thing for Georgia Tech too, Mac, with some of those opponents that you named, staying healthy as you possibly can, like keeping Haynes King as healthy as you can until you get to Pitt. I would say Pitt and Georgia. I mean, those are probably the two teams that can possibly beat you. But Georgia Tech up to number 7 in the country. Crazy. I'm happy for your twin, Mac. I'm happy for you.
Come on, ugly twin. You always have to say that first part, just so people know.
Yes, the ugly twin. Coach Key, Mac. That's Mac saying that, not me. Okay, Mac. You were at Duke, Georgia Tech. I was unfortunately at SMU.
We split up. Your coverage was great. It was fun to watch.
I had to bring the coverage. SMU 35, Clemson 24. And okay, I don't want to take credit away from SMU. KJ's hobbled. He tweaks that ankle, and he still is able to make plays. And he doesn't make a bunch of mistakes, and he's able to lead them to a victory. The SMU defense really showed up. That secondary, I mean, Vizina still was able to throw the ball, but the D-line, them stopping the run, Clemson only running for 35 yards on 30 attempts is absolutely terrible. So I don't want to not give credit to SMU. 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Like Jordan Hudson went crazy. SMU still hasn't lost an ACC regular season game. FSU would kill for that. But let's start Clemson here, Mac. I mean, that first quarter was some of the worst offensive football I've ever seen in Death Valley. And shout out to future All-American punter Jack Smith, because he, I was concerned about the punter. I always am, Mac. And he's been the bright spot of this season because he can punt the ball. But it's got to be hard for, like, Mac, you talk about, we were talking about Miami or Louisville and some of the alums. Like, you played Clemson football. This has to be hard for you. So, yes, I experienced it firsthand, but you also were watching. Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, it is frustrating. It is.
Can you tell me what you're thinking?
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of different ways to look at it. The first thing is quarterback was not your problem at all.
No.
Like Chris
Vizina
played
was fine.
very well.
I thought
very
it was good.
Thought it was a pretty good game plan for him. Thought he took care of the ball, through the air. Thought that, some guys left him hanging dry, a couple of big drops, times where he wasn't protected well. I thought the run game, and sometimes when they were calling runs for him, was just dumb plays.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been called. The timing of the call, the where it was on the field. But I thought Chris Vizina played very, very well, and he should have. Like, it's a poor pass defense. Like, you should have, and you did. So good job. I hope that eases some Clemson fans. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It eases my mind on next year of, you can go to the portal if you want, but I think you have a guy that, is good enough. And I mean, he made some throws I haven't seen Cade make this year. So that's interesting. It's interesting.
But Mac is good enough?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it could look like better if he had a better offensive line.
But you're saying there's so many other issues.
So many other issues. And again, I'm trying to be delicate because it's a weird thing. It really is. But if there's any other team, this is what I say. That was the worst performance from an offensive line I've ever seen. Like,
ever?
It was so bad. Maybe not ever. Maybe that's a lie.
From an offensive line that should be competent. That
should be good. Should be really good. And you talk about, paying people. This offensive line coach making a lot of money. So it's interesting to me, like, when it looked bad, how it looked bad. And here's the deal too, guys. Like, I'm going to put this video out probably tomorrow. There's like 50 plays on it. Normally there's 20. There's 50. It is very bad football. And that's concerning. And maybe it's not concerning. You have 4 laws. Like, I really don't care. But It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. And it shouldn't look that way, right? Like it shouldn't look like that. Have some pride. There's times, KG, there's times where, and even when I do this, like you're going to see who it is. I probably won't say their name just because I don't want to, pile on even more. But there's a time where a player, a lineman is going to cut somebody, which I don't think they should have cut him anyway. And he just falls on the ground, doesn't touch anybody. Guy just walks over him and hits the quarterback. And I'm just looking like, how is this the product? Is there no one else? Like, is there nobody else that can do it? Like, that's where you are. So that was super frustrating to me. The fact that you were net 0 rushing yards in the second half and you ran the ball 16 times is embarrassing.
And you're not playing Miami. Like, no disrespect to SMU, but
they lost a lot of talent, and they have a bunch of guys that had question marks. I remember walking in their facility. I won't tell you who said it, but they looked at me in my eyes and said, I don't know how we're going to play defense this year. They literally said that. And it wasn't Lashley, so I'm not going to give you any more details. And they dominated. Those guys played great. And maybe they got better. Maybe they added some guys since then. But yeah, Clemson, I mean, it just looks incompetent, and again, just after watching the coaches copy, I'm just watching these plays and I'm watching when they're called, where they're called, why they're called. And I'm just wondering, how did you watch film on SMU and this is what the game plan was? How did it equate to this? And I just think there's issues everywhere. I think there's a lot of issues. And, Coach Sweeney, said after the game that, he knows or thinks or hopes, like something good is going to come from this. And, I think at the end of the day, the only thing that possibly could be is that he fully adopts something. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. I don't think he's going to sit here and, kick out a third of the roster and go get new guys. I don't know if he's going to, totally change the coaching staff. I don't know if he's going to give, Tom Allen, who just came in as a coordinator, which doesn't really happen anywhere you look around the country. When a coordinator comes in, they're bringing people. They're bringing their coaches with them. I don't know if that means giving him the freedom to change the staff that he sees fit. I don't know if that's a change at offensive coordinator. I don't know if that's a change at other position coaches. I don't know. I do know there's no way that it's stagnant. I do know there's no way that everything stays the same. And I know that's hard too. I've never done it, obviously, but I know that that's the worst part of the job. Like telling someone who you asked to trust and to come in and to coach with you and you're with every day and you're doing all these things and you have to tell them you're not good enough. See you later. I know that that's the worst, but this is a business. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. This is a thing where people are paid a lot of money, now players included, to do your job. It's not just be a good person. It's not just graduate. And I wish it was. I truly do. But it's not anymore. And it has to be evaluated and criticized and done differently. And it's just tough. It's tough to do. And I hate that. I hate that we're in this position. I hate that I have to say things of this nature. I wish that the model would have been the model and, it is what it is, but it's not. And so that's tough. And that's a really difficult thing to grasp. But, I don't think I need to say this, but I still, undoubtedly on whatever, believe in Coach Dabo Swinney and think that he's one of the best minds and the greatest men and all these different things. And so, it just has to adjust. And you hope that it's sooner than not. It's crazy to sit here and think about this team that was number 4 in the country, that has the most returning production in all of college football back from a playoff ACC championship winning team from a year ago. And legitimately, I'm not joking, I don't know if they're going to a bowl game.
So that was my next question, Mac. Well, let's talk about that. But all that you've said there, to me, the one good thing that can come from this, from a football perspective, is that it truly forces Dabo to reevaluate everything. And if you don't reevaluate everything from a possible 5-7, 6-6 season, then I don't know what we're doing here. Right? Because
it's not fun. You're not having fun. No. It's not fulfilling. Yeah.
people are going to stop coming. Like I was at the game and that was a pretty empty. The corners were nowhere near full. I mean, you're still drawing what 65, 70,000 people to watch a 3-3 football team. Like the fan
Still
base
crazy, though.
is the
Still
fan base. But there was some boos, like in the first quarter, because the first quarter was absolutely terrible to watch. Bill Clemson, when you look at the rest of their schedule, Mac, that's the question people are starting to ask. Like, are you even going to make a bowl?
Well, I 100% think that the South Carolina game will be for the postseason.
Isn't it so crazy to think about these two teams that were so hyped up? Because South Carolina is probably going to be in the same situation. Both teams are going to be 5-6, fighting for bowl eligibility. When you look at the wins remaining, it feels like Florida State maybe is now a win, possibly. You're playing them at home, and Florida State seems to have given up. We'll get to them. Furman, South Carolina. I'm not sure you're beating Duke. I mean, not unless Duke just fumbles it 17 times like they do. You're not winning at Louisville. Like, sorry, you're not winning at Louisville. So it's just gonna be fascinating, Mac.
And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Again, and like it hurts. It sucks. Yeah. And I hate it. And I try to remove myself from it because it's, it is. It's whatever. But it does. It's brutal. And it's brutal to watch. And I think like the other thing about losing at home like drives me nuts. Like you have got to protect that thing. And they haven't.
Back-to-back home losses.
And I don't want to like it's brutal. Overreact and be like, I'm not calling it Death Valley anymore. Like all these things, but it's just, I don't know. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you say the thing about the rivalry, the South Carolina game. I don't remember if I've told you this or not. Maybe I shouldn't say it for everyone to hear, but literally one of the last things because I love Shane Beamer. I like him a lot. Things will be at Virginia Tech soon. Can't wait. Hope that happens. We'll love him a lot more.
Interesting.
But I remember texting him just saying, hey, good luck this year, except for Thanksgiving, whatever. And was just like, let's make the state of South Carolina the center of the football world. Whoops.
Nope.
Whoops. Neither one of us held up our end of the bargain. So it's unbelievable. Like it's comically, unbelievably bad. And who knows? I don't know why we even talked about this so long. This is probably the last time. Maybe the last time.
Yeah. Let's move on. We'll move on, Mac. I did say Florida State we're going to get to you. But first, a proud Clemson alum, Tony Elliott, and Virginia.
Yes.
They beat Washington State.
Happy for a second.
Yeah, number 18 Virginia beats Washington State 22-20. They're up to 16 in the poll. Look, this game was stressful, Mac. Washington State continues to go to ranked teams, travel, across the entire world, and try to scare everybody and try to beat them. They almost beat Ole Miss. They almost beat Virginia. Virginia survives. And when you talk about crowds, I thought Virginia's crowd was fantastic. They were huge in the second half. A lot of false starts, huge on that safety at the end. That was impressive. I have not seen a Virginia crowd like that at the football stadium, not JPJ,
right,
in a very long time. So that was huge. The offense struggled. I want to know how concerned you are about that, Mac, overall. But the fourth quarter, that drive they went on when Chandler Morris was just slinging it. And then, so the last drive and then the safety was really impressive. So are we concerned? Should we just be happy and move on? What do you think?
No, I'm concerned.
Okay, you are. Okay, all right.
Not look great the last two times.
Because that's two straight games where the offense has just been.
And one we think is a pretty competent, good opponent, but these guys in Washington, I mean, is what it is. I guess they did.
I mean, how good is Washington State? They almost beat Ole Miss.
These guys are legendary. My God, bring them in the ACC. Let's go. Let's go to work. I do want to start with the crowd too, though, because I thought the same. I'm watching the game. I'm like, yo, it's loud. Like it's really loud. And I start kind of looking around. I'm like, this thing is packed. 50,000 plus back-to-back games. Really, really impressive. And I love that. Like that's what it takes, man. We think that it's just the players got to play and the coaches got to it's a full thing. Like arenas, stadiums, whatever. You can impact and change a game. And I think they did, like you said, with the penalties and, not being able to concentrate, not be able to hear, not be able to communicate. It's such a big deal. Like there are so many great things happening right now at Virginia where you have your coach. And listen, I keep receipts. I remember all these idiots messaging me, DMing me saying, Tony's out, he's got to go. And I said, please don't be that dumb. Please just let him have some time. He's got money. They sent him NIL money where he can do his thing. They built a facility where you can now keep recruits and grow and get better. And now the fan component is where it is, and they're winning football games. Like, there is so much great things happening there. So I have to give shout out to the administration,
Absolutely.
to Carla Williams, the athletic director, and obviously Coach E and the staff that he has built there, and the players that those guys have got to buy in and to play at a super high level. So just want to kind of start there because I'm so impressed with that. But yeah, we got to figure it out a little bit more on the field. Let's not freak out and do what you have to do and you march back. But game winning safety against a 3-4 team, I ain't feeling great about. But it is what it is. And you found another way to win. I thought we were done with the finding creative ways to win, but you did that. You made it happen. You're undefeated in conference. You control your own destiny. And Nicole Auerbach has been tweeting about this. The fact that we have Indiana, Georgia Tech, Virginia ranked as high as we do, undefeated in their conference. Like, what a time in college football for, a decade there where it was Clemson, Bama, and then Georgia came around and Ohio's, like those 4 teams, and that was it. So boring. And everyone's just kind of like, this stinks. Now we have unbelievable parity. We have all these teams playing at a high level. Talent dispersion, I think, is the highest that it's been for a long, long time. And it's fun to watch. And so these guys playing at a high level, get it together. This will be a nice week for you to do that. We'll talk more about it. They're going to Chapel Hill. Let's get a nice 30-point dub, get in and out of there, and make it happen.
When you hire well, which is what Indiana, Georgia Tech, and Virginia have all done, coaches that want to be at those institutions, right? And then when you invest, which is what all 3 of those institutions have done, then look what happens. Virginia continues to roll. Mac, we have talked a lot. This has been a long episode. So let's get to Florida State. And then we can just kind of wrap it up there with a few of these other games. Pitt does win as well. Shout out to Pitt. We'll talk about that in a second. Stanford beats Florida State 20-13. Mac, that game started at 10:30 Eastern. I have a newborn. I went to sleep. I woke up at 2:30 to feed him. And I looked at my phone. And I texted you at 2:30 in the morning. And I said, FSU lost? And then I proceeded to go watch basically the whole game today because it was baffling. Baffling. And, I read we love Ira over at War Chant. He wrote a great piece. He was out there, covering it live and in person at Stanford. You lost to a team and a school and a program that doesn't care. They don't care about football. And they're trying to care. Andrew Luck's back. He's trying to fix that place. You've got Frank Reich who took over and he's like, I'm just going to do this for a year. I'm not even coaching next year. They don't care. You're Florida State. You tried to break up the whole league because you care more than everybody. And you lose at Stanford? What is happening, Matt?
You said in the lawsuit that adding Stanford dilutes the win whatever of the conference, the strength of schedule of the conference. So there is a bit of weird karma that is in this entire thing. And really, FSU sends the lawsuit. It's crazy to look at. And there's a bunch of billion different ways that we could go with this thing. And I don't want to get to the dark place again that I just was with Clemson, but I might. Here we go, diving into it. I hope Tommy Castellanos is okay. Haven't seen anything. Hope Bryant Wesco, didn't say that earlier. Hope he's okay too from Clemson. 2 guys that took some nasty hits, some nasty collisions, and we're just kind of praying for their safety there. But I love Mike Norvell a lot. And the interesting thing about what we do, KG, not only you and I on this podcast, because we know these people pretty intimately and have them on our show and, text with them, talk with them, but also with the conference network. And like, we're there and I get to see inside their program and they let me in. And, it's just so different than a lot of people have to deal with that criticize and talk and, do these things. But the same things that I just said for Clemson are true and applicable here. This is a business. This is a wins matter business. This is your future is determined by the outcome of games business. And there's too much negativity. There's too many losses. There's too much not delivering in the win column. And eventually that adds up. And I saw the most mind-blowing stat that before 2020, the last 4-game losing streak occurred in like 1976, the year before Bobby Bowden was hired. So you're telling me from then to 2020, it never happened. It's happened to Mike Norvell 4 times. That's just, you got to move on. You just got to go. And I don't know what the justification is for not, other than you don't have the money to do so. Because I also saw things going around where maybe you don't, like maybe it costs $100 million to move on from this staff, which I don't know if that's true or not. Pete, Nakos reported that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you have that money. I don't know if you can find somebody who has that money. So not only if and when you have to do that, but then you got to go out and hire more people, and you got more money. You got another basically $100 million that you have to go find to hire all of them. So these situations are so unbelievable that athletic departments are finding themselves in. I almost wonder, this is kind of a bigger picture, and maybe we talk about this honestly this off season, because I'd be fascinated if we talk maybe anonymously to some people and just kind of talk about what we hear. I don't know how we keep putting ourselves in that position. Like when you have a coach that's paid $82 million to never coach again, when you have some of these coaches that are paid 50, 40, $60 million to never coach again, why would athletic departments keep doing that? You can set the market. You can literally say, we're not doing it. Go find a job somewhere else. See you later. We're not paying that. I think we see the market start to shift back, because this is going to be a big old season of this.
Sure.
Florida State, potentially. Florida already did it. Penn State just did it. Who knows what other schools are going to follow, where we're talking about multi-million-dollar buyouts. People are going to stop signing those. Like that's just, I have to think that that's eventually going to happen. There's too much money that has to go other places right now. So I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you do it. I know what you need to do. I don't know how you do it.
When you have to pay the roster, should we still be paying the coaches $10, $11 million? Even though Signetti just got, a massive deal. It's crazy, Mac, when you look at the money potentially involved here. I do think it's interesting, as we're recording this Sunday night, that there hasn't been a decision and you're going into a bye week. So it's like you're not really going to do anything.
They're moving in their new facility right now. Crazy.
I just felt like where was the effort? Like Stanford was way more excited to play that game. And I get it. You're playing in front of 2 people, 3,000 miles across the country, but you're getting paid to do it. And you should be in absolute desperation mode to win the football game. And then you add in, Mac, the 13 penalties for Florida State, like so many. That's stuff you can't excuse away as a coaching staff. Like that kind of stuff is on you. That's on your culture. This is your 9th straight ACC loss. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And I think Florida State fans know that. Okay, Mac, give me just a quick thought on the rest of these games. Pitt beat Syracuse, and Pitt didn't look great. There were 13 punts in this game overall. They beat them 30-13. Kenny Johnson's punt return at the end of the first half was huge. That was like a big spark for Pitt. They find a way. Pitt gets it done, and they continue down the road.
Yeah, find a way there. Boston College doesn't. That game went up.
Mac, I didn't even want to mention them. I didn't even want to talk about it.
Well, you said the rest of these games.
I know, I'm so sorry. I should have been clear. Not Boston College.
North Carolina, Cal, Friday. I mean, it's just whatever.
UNC's turnovers, yeah.
So
we're good.
We'll see. Who knows? I haven't even told Kelly who the guest is this week. I'm going to tell her after we hang up. I'm not going to tell you.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Mac is in charge of our guest relations department. He does a great job.
Well, our booking agent makes it happen.
You're right.
So we'll have that on Wednesday. So y'all come back. It'll be super fun. And then on Friday, we're going to jump into these games. An interesting week. A week that I felt like, KG, or I feel like we went through a couple of weeks ago and we're like, it's going to be such a boring week. And it wasn't. So I hope for the betterment of the league, it is a boring as it should be weekend. That's what I'm praying for. We'll pray
most
more
likely not.
We'll do that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll talk more. Appreciate you guys. A lot of stuff in this podcast. Tell us what you think. jump in the comments. We can all be therapeutic together. Just type it away. Type it away. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate your support. Go subscribe. I got to go to sleep. Until next time, we'll see y'all.
Rollback just dropped their licensed game day collection. Polos, hoodies, Q-zips, custom designed for your school. On game days, we wear Rollback, period.